This is key. This is the first step in replacing yourself in your business. And again, some people want to argue about like, well, I'm not trying to replace myself. I love what I do. It's like, that's great. But what if you get hurt? What if you're sick? There's so many scenarios why it's important to replace yourself. Systematize everything. Okay. You need to start systematizing everything in your life and really, especially your business. But, whether or not you're ready to sell, like some people are like, well, I'm just working. Like I don't want to sell my business. I don't want to franchise. I don't need to really create these processes or anything like that. But you do. Okay. And here's why. Because if you create this stuff, your life is going to get way easier. Okay. And it's not ever going to be a perfect system. It's never going to be a perfect process. But I promise you, the sooner you start working on this stuff and documenting your processes, everything you do, I'm step by step. Okay. And I'm going through this right now. I just hired, like 2 weeks ago, I hired an assistant. You're hired. I'm trying to document these things step by step to make it so that it got to get out of my head, right? Got to get and I'm like terribly unorganized. You can ask her. Like she's sometimes is documenting the stuff for me step by step, right? But you guys have to do this. I read the book E-Myth. Okay, Reto, he's the owner of Garden Light. He recommended that book to me. He actually got it for me, and I listened to it. It literally teaches you this stuff. Like even if you're not going to sell your business, set it up like you are because it's going to change your life. And Brian's messaging me, hire out the tasks you don't like doing. And that's key. Like, even if you are like, no, I like to do sales, that's fine. You can still do sales for your company, but you don't need to answer the phones. You don't need to do some of those menial tasks that you don't like doing. You don't need to do installs, and maybe you like installs, but you don't like sales. Well, that's okay. Then hire a salesperson, right? I promise you guys this, creating checklists is going to change your life. So it's going to allow you to increase your client experience and make sure things are getting done. It'll help you train people to replace you. And honestly, there's so many different ways to document procedures. Whether you're ordering materials, okay, staging the jobs, cleaning and organizing trucks, your payroll, your sales process, your follow-up, your installations, service calls, maintenance, company culture, hiring, firing. Yeah, you even have to have a process for firing. But honestly, this will help you. And I remember we were running our business and we would do like badass installations. Our installers were amazing. Like these guys were top notch, right? But then at the end of the job, they would leave some like wire clippings on the sidewalk or some staples or nails or just random stuff fall out of their tool bag, right? And I had a customer that literally walked around and picked up every little piece of small, and this wasn't like huge trash bags lying around. It was small. And they show me in their hand, like they sent me a picture of their hand with all this stuff, like just little stuff, right? And it wasn't a lot, but it was stuff. And they were like so disappointed. Like I had ruined the experience just because of that. Even though like we had badass design, badass installation, like it looked awesome. It didn't matter because we just screwed up in this one little area. And so we added that to a checklist. It's like, hey, before you guys are done, do this, do this, do this, clean up, walk around with the customer, do a walkthrough, let them know you're leaving. Like all these things, you just document it. And then before you know it, you have people doing what they're supposed to do, right? And so I highly recommend you guys do this and make sure that your document, it's not like you don't even have to come up with stuff. You're already doing it. It's just in your head. So you've got to just literally write down like what you're doing every day. And this is key. This is the first step in replacing yourself in your business. And again, some people want to argue about like, well, I'm not trying to replace myself. I love what I do. It's like, that's great. But what if you get hurt? What if you're sick? There's so many scenarios why it's important to replace yourself. When you replace yourself, by the way, it doesn't mean that you can't work in your business. Now, all of a sudden, you get to go to work because you want to go to work, not because you have to go to work. And those are two very different things. And honestly, the feeling of going to work because you want to go to work, not because you have to go to work, that's what freedom tastes like, right? That's why you're an entrepreneur. And if that's not your goal as an entrepreneur, then what is? There's a lot of way better paying jobs out there with better benefits and cooler bosses and everything else. You can just go get a job, right? But if you're going to own your own business, you better make it worth it, which is why I'm big on making a ton of money, because when you make a ton of money, you can reinvest it back into the business. You can afford to hire people. You can afford to replace yourself. And that ultimately is what leads to freedom and allows you to go to work because you want to go to work, not because you have to go to work. So that is my lighting tip of the week. Systematize everything. And you do that by literally just start writing down, create a checklist on everything you do. Seriously, even if it's just ordering materials, like once they order materials, then what? Then you get it from the manufacturer, the distributor. When you get it, go through and check and make sure that it lines up with what you ordered, stage the job. All these little things are not huge, okay? But I promise you, it'll save you a ton of time. It'll save stress from your business and everything else.